Good morning. Today we explore what humanity might have looked like before memory begins, long before cities, kings, or written records. This episode is based on the chapter Prologue, The World Before Memory, from the book Universal History of the Civilisations. We step into a world where fire is the first center of order, where small groups survive by instinct and cooperation, and where every gesture hints at the civilizations that will one day rise. Nothing here is written, yet everything here begins. Let us return to the earliest human night and watch the first light take shape. The first fire, fear, power, and the circle of light. The world opens in darkness. A cold wind moves across the valley, carrying the sound of branches snapping somewhere beyond sight. For a moment, nothing lives except the night. Then a spark flares, and the fire pushes a small circle of light into the void. A boy sits beside it, barely old enough to be called a guardian, yet old enough to know that if this fire dies, the group will not see morning. He feeds the flames with trembling hands. The warmth touches only a few meters. Beyond that, the world is hostile, full of eyes he cannot see. He feels the weight of a power he never asked for. The elders sleep because he is awake. The children breathe because he keeps this fragile sun alive. In this silent duty, a hierarchy forms, not through law, but through fear and responsibility. Whoever guards the flame shapes the rhythm of the night. The wind rises again. Shadows shift at the edge of the circle, and the boy tightens his grip on a burning branch. The fire crackles as if speaking, demanding attention, demanding obedience. Around it, the first order of humanity takes form. Light at the center, danger everywhere else. Tonight, civilization is nothing more than a flame, a child, and the understanding that power begins with keeping the darkness away. The first roles, the quiet birth of social order. Morning arrives quietly. The fire has burned down to faint orange embers, and the sky begins to pale above the camp. A woman kneels beside the ashes, not with fear or urgency, but with the calm certainty of someone who knows exactly what must happen next. Her hands move with soft precision. She wakes the young gatherers, sends two boys to scan the ridge for tracks, nods to an older man to check the shelters. Nothing here is written, nothing declared, yet everyone falls into motion the moment she speaks. Their survival depends not on force, but on the rhythm she keeps steady. This is not authority, as later ages will understand it. It is function. She coordinates because she sees the whole pattern. Who is strong today? Who is tired? Who can watch the children? Who must scout the riverbank before the sun rises too high? Responsibility is not a moral claim. It is a technique for keeping the group alive. Behind her, the younger ones imitate without knowing why. Roles feel given, almost sacred, as if assigned by something larger than the camp itself. And when someone breaks the rhythm, sleeps late, refuses a task, the group closes in, restoring balance the way a body heals a wound. In this quiet morning, long before cities and laws, the first order of humanity takes shape. A community that survives because each person becomes a piece of the pattern. The first territory, a circle that defines us. From above, the camp looks impossibly small, a dim ring of light pressed against a vast and indifferent landscape. This is the narrator's first wide glance, the circle where humans gather, and the darkness where everything else begins. On the ground, a young boy breaks into a run, chasing a drifting spark carried by the morning wind. He crosses the edge of the fire's fading glow, stepping into the greyness beyond. Before he can take another stride, an elder's hand grips his shoulder and pulls him back. The boy's breath catches. He is puzzled, curious, certain the world must continue just a little further. But the elder sees something else, the boundary that protects them all. A border not drawn in soil, but in fear, memory, and instinct. Within the camp, space feels warm, familiar, almost blessed. Outside, it becomes a realm of spirits, predators, and strangers. The group defends this circle fiercely, not for land, as later civilizations will, but for the fragile sense of belonging it offers. This is the first territory in human history, a place where we dwell, and where they do not. A line born from firelight, emotion, and survival, yet one that will echo all the way into cities, kingdoms, and nations. The first tools, extending the hand, extending the mind. The morning light settles softly over the camp as a middle-aged man crouches beside a flat stone. Shards of flint lie scattered around him, small grey chips that glow faintly in the sun. His hands move with slow precision, striking, turning, striking again. Each blow carries intention. Each fragment that falls is proof of a mind learning to shape the world. This is no simple craft. It is thought made visible. The rhythm he follows, action, result, repetition, becomes the first quiet heartbeat of human technique. With every new edge he carves, he extends both his reach and his understanding. Behind him, children watch in silence. To them, the tool seems alive, a thing with purpose and spirit. And when danger rises, the same tool becomes a weapon, transforming skill into survival. In this moment, long before metal or machines, humanity discovers that the mind can live outside the body, in a blade, a point, a polished stone. The first technology is born not from necessity alone, but from the desire to turn intention into form. The first cooperation, working beyond instinct. A wide view opens across the clearing. A fallen tree lies on the ground, heavy and unmovable for any single person, yet rising slowly as many hands take hold. Shoulders press together, breaths fall into rhythm, and the great trunk begins to shift. This is sapiens at its most distinct, cooperation that reaches beyond blood ties or instinct. You see, the group moves, as if guided by one intention, responding to subtle signals, a nod, a shout, a shared memory of how such work was done before. Trust is built not through words, but through the ritual of effort. Each person knows their place in the pattern. Each carries a piece of the load. When danger comes, the same coordination hardens into defense. When peace returns, it becomes the foundation for building shelters, sharing food, raising children. In this collective exertion, humanity discovers a new kind of power, the ability to act as more than a herd, more than a family, as a community capable of shaping the world. The tree moves, slowly but surely, because many wills have become one. The first story, rituals before memory. Night gathers around the camp, but this time the fire is not a shield, it is a stage. Flames rise in steady waves, throwing long shadows across a nearby rock where an old man stands. The children watch him with wide eyes as his voice rolls through the darkness. He begins a tale. Not history, not doctrine, just a pattern of gestures and sounds, repeated so many times that it becomes a map for how the world should feel. Well, when he speaks, the fire seems to lean toward him, and the group follows every movement of his hands. In this moment, the story is more than entertainment. It anchors the community, turning fear into meaning and chaos into rhythm. Each repetition strengthens the rule that what is spoken together becomes true together. Long before writing, law, or temples, humanity discovers its first order, a tale shared in the night, shaping minds far more deeply than any carving in stone. The first time, when humans learn to plan. Dawn breaks gently across the camp. The first line of light touches the horizon, then rests on the face of an older woman standing near the dying embers. She watches the sky with steady, practiced eyes, noticing the angle of the sun, the chill in the air, the silence of distant hills. These are her markers, the earliest form of a calendar. She calls to the younger ones, reminding them that the herds will soon begin their long migration. Supplies must be gathered, tools checked, shelters repaired. The future presses on the present, and she feels its weight as clearly as the warmth on her skin. Before farming, before temples, before written dates, people learn to predict. Light becomes a measure, seasons become a story, and time itself feels like a living force that arrives, demands, and warns. In her quiet observations, humanity discovers its first mastery over tomorrow, the ability not just to endure the world, but to prepare for it. The first memory. Repetition as the mother of tradition. Silence hangs over the camp, not the quiet of rest, but the stillness that follows loss. A family kneels beside the body of a loved one, wrapped carefully in animal skins. Around them, stones are placed with deliberate, familiar movements. Gestures repeated countless times before, though no one can say who first taught them. These motions are memory made physical. No signs, no tablets, no written words exist, yet knowledge flows from elder to youth through the repetition of hands. You know, the act becomes the teaching. Grief settles into pattern. The stones form a boundary, the fire burns lower, and an unspoken rule takes hold. This is how we remember. Long before archives or chronicles, tradition grows out of gestures performed again and again, binding emotion to action. In this quiet ritual, humanity discovers its earliest form of continuity, a way to carry the past forward without ever writing it down. The first distance, from fear to imagination. From above, the night stretches across the landscape like a vast curtain. The campfire that once guarded the center of human life now flickers low, and one by one, the smaller flames around it fade into darkness. The world grows quiet, but not empty. This is the moment when the mind steps beyond what the eyes can see. Shadows become stories, distant sounds become signs, and fear reshapes itself into meaning. Right, the unknown begins to take form as spirits, omens, rules whispered from elder to child. Here, long before temples or writing, imagination becomes the first architecture of culture. Humans create a symbolic map of the world, filled with beings and boundaries that exist only in thought, yet guide every step they take. As the last ember glows against the night, humanity crosses an invisible threshold. It begins to organize reality not through survival alone, but through the stories it tells about the dark. We have traveled through a world before memory, a world shaped by fire, roles, territory, tools, stories, time, and the first fragile traditions. Each scene shows humanity learning to organize fear into meaning and meaning into order. These early patterns, simple as they seem, become the foundations of every civilization that follows. Well, if such modest beginnings carry the weight of all future history, what unseen habits are we building today that our descendants will mistake for destiny? Thank you for listening and for walking with us into the first light of the human story.